Hey everyone, welcome to Brave Souls. Happy Sunday. My lovely guest for today is Alexandra Birrell. So as soon as Alexandra comes on and requests to join in, we will get started shortly. Oh, here she is. Okay. Going live with Alexandra right now. Hi.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Hi Raya, welcome. How's your internet connection on your end? Good?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it seems to be okay.
Okay, perfect. Just gonna wait just a minute or two to let people come on.
Yeah.
How's your day going so far?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's 7 p.m. here, so I'm just actually finishing off my day. It's definitely going to be the last thing I do.
Oh,
I'm so
that's right. It's
sleepy.
7 p.m. your time.
Yeah,
That's right. Okay.
yeah. What time is it there?
It's 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you up to today?
Um, Not much. Honestly, just relaxing today for the most part.
Yeah,
Hi,
relaxing
Brittany.
Sunday.
Yes, lazy Sunday. Hi,
Hi,
Brittany. Hi,
Jim.
Keith. Hi, Jim. Welcome. Yeah, I think after this, I'm gonna get out of this and just go put on some comfy clothes
PJs.
and wait. Yes,
Yeah.
lay around. Yep. How's everyone's Sunday going? So what did you do today?
Me, not much. Yeah, I just went out for a dog walk. I've been doing some work. I'm studying trauma sensitive yoga at the minute, so I've got some coursework to do. So I've just been
Nice.
doing that. Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah.
Hi, Troy. Hi, there is Light. Welcome. Good, Jim. I'm glad your Sunday's great. Good. Okay. I think we could start. So, whoever, joins late or, is not able to join in, I always save my lives so they can go back to my page anytime and watch it. Okay.
Perfect.
Looking forward to listening. Good. I am too. I'm looking forward to listening to Alexandra. So, Alexandra, the lovely lady, why don't you share a little bit about your story and we'll go from there. Hi, Bethany.
Hi, Beth. Yeah. I guess starting with my adoption story. So I was born just outside of Toronto, Canada. Um, my birth mother was 15 when she got pregnant. She was 16 when she gave birth. And from my understanding, the whole time she was pregnant, she knew that she wanted to relinquish me. She knew she wanted to give me up for adoption. Um, she actually didn't tell anybody that she was pregnant. So I would guess that that would have been a pretty traumatic and stressful time in her life. Um, she held me once at the hospital and then she left. So I was adopted at 2 days old. There was just 2 days where I was left at the hospital and they found me an adoptive family. Um, so I joined my adoptive family 2 days old. They are a family of Scottish immigrants to Canada. And I would say that generally I had a good childhood. You know, I had really loving parents. I had an amazing connection with my wider family, really close to my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. Um, but I would say, kind of underneath that, there was always a sense of maybe disconnection. And it's really interesting looking back. Like I can remember being 10 years old, Christmas time, you know, my adopted family came over to our house and then they left. And I remember writing in my diary something along the lines of, I have the most amazing family surrounding me. I just wish that they were mine. And it's really interesting looking back and knowing that there was always that kind of sense of disconnection.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, as an adult, when I started to dive into some of the underlying reasons why I struggled with my mental health, and recognizing that a lot of it had to do with the dynamics of adoption,
Right.
um, it was still pretty shocking to me, despite the fact that I was aware growing up. There were, I guess pockets of awareness. It was still pretty shocking to me to recognize how much it actually impacted me.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's kind of one of these things that it goes on underneath the surface for a really long time, and I think that's quite common with
It's
adoptees.
very common. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of that
With
whole.
me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, the whole idea of coming out of the fog, and that there's that kind of sense of disconnection from how you really feel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I would say, the idea of maybe the idea of us all being. So I was always told that we were a family of Scottish origin. Um, so that kind of added another layer of complexity for me. Um, because it's kind of, I was told how to define myself, but that's not how I felt. I certainly did not feel like a Scottish immigrant that was just like my adopted family. But also being in a closed adoption, I didn't know what I was instead. So I'm not them, but I don't know who I am instead. So I think for me, I kind of internalized that as, well, I'm nothing. And there was a real sense of, yeah, just disconnection, or maybe not really knowing what it was that I was meant to be connecting to, which
Right.
again, I think this is quite common for adoptees.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I guess that was compounded as well. I experienced a lot of racial bullying growing up, and because of that kind of maybe colorblind mentality that my parents had, and my wider community had, with the best of intentions,
Of
nobody ever
course. Yeah.
means to sort of dismiss anybody's experience.
Right.
But yeah, it made it that much harder to talk about how I was feeling and what was going on for me, because in my mind, my family believed that I was Scottish. So um, it's difficult to communicate that when you don't really know how you're meant to be feeling or what you are, what to be proud of in terms of your own experience. So that was certainly part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say, there was always that sense of disconnection, but as I got older, maybe into my teenage years, um, I started to shut down more and more. So there was probably about 5 years where every time I was with my adopted family, so my whole adopted family, all of my extended family, I would actually be completely silent. So I would completely shut down. Um, it's been really interesting to hear other adoptees talk about their experiences of feeling really shy or feeling kind of collapsed within themselves.
Right.
Um, and actually, in my work, I'm a therapist. I've learned a lot about what happens in people's nervous systems when they're experiencing a sense of powerlessness, and also a sense of disconnection from themselves. And this is really, really common. This sense of, it's almost a sense of collapse and disappear, because there's so much threat around you, or maybe it's not even so much threat, but there's such a lack of relational safety, the ability to truly be yourself,
Right.
that it's experienced by our bodies as threats. So certainly that fed into this sense of low mood as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so that was, I would say, that was my journey, probably up until I was maybe in my late teens. Um, and again, that sense of disconnection, it was sort of a thread that continued to weave throughout my journey, even into my early 20s. Um, I found that because I didn't know who I was, and because I didn't know, along with the sense of who you are comes how you feel about things,
Mm-hmm.
your needs, your boundaries. And because I didn't have that sense of connection to myself, I found relationships really, really tricky. I found that I couldn't trust people. I couldn't trust myself within relationships. I often let people walk on me.
Yeah.
Um,
People pleaser.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's it. And again, actually, when you look into what happens on a nervous system level, that is another aspect of that sense of disconnection. You know, you don't know who you are, so you're trying to always please other people. It's kind of that external awareness, an awareness of how other people are feeling,
Right.
which makes it really hard to know how you feel.
Exactly.
Um, so that kind of led to some pretty difficult situations. I had a best friend that I had been attached. We were essentially attached at the hip since we were 10 years old, and it was yeah, on being a people pleaser. Yeah, really, really common. Um, so I was best friends with this girl for probably about 10 years, and when I was about 20, I realized that she had been emotionally and financially abusing me. So it's yeah, it's just a real sense of giving away my power, not knowing who I am, and letting myself get walked on, essentially. Um, so I would say that was kind of the first 20 years of my life or so. Um, and I would say probably for the past 10 years, I have been on a journey towards self-healing. Too much anger. I mean, that is also really common. So if you think about the nervous system, it's kind of initially you get that fight or flight response. Really,
Mm-hmm.
really effective to be angry because it keeps people away from you.
Yeah.
Um, or the opposite, flight mode, maybe we go into avoidance and we don't want to be in relationship with people at all.
Right.
Maybe a combination of the two. Um, yeah, really, really, really interesting to think about how natural some of these mechanisms are. But yeah, I would say since then, I've been kind of on a journey towards healing, figuring out what has happened in my own experiences, and also being able to, some of the things that we talked about on the phone the other day, Michelle, about turning pain into purpose and I guess helping yourself heal by serving other people.
Exactly.
Um, yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely want to go into your healing journey because that's a big part of the whole process. But I want to
yeah,
circle back just a little bit to so your adoptive parents.
yeah.
Obviously, you know, growing up that you were adopted, right? You weren't just told at a certain age; you just kind of knew from birth.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't honestly think that my parents could have hid my adoption from me because they have blonde hair and blue eyes.
Right. Right.
I think growing up, it was really common for people to not tell their adopted children that they're adopted.
Mm-hmm.
I think they kind of grew up with the mentality of like, if as long as we tell her, you know, we told her, so what that means
My
that we were
job's
really
done.
open. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah, I mean, so with me, I found out when I was 8, and my dad told me my mom wasn't there, and I just actually released to people on my live when I was a guest the other day that that actually hurt me that my adoptive mom wasn't there, and
Mm,
because you would think both your parents would sit down together and tell you because it's a very emotional time for all of you. um, my mom, she was just a very emotional person, and I don't think she was able to handle it. But, I needed her to be strong for me. And I
absolutely.
never shared that with her how I felt. I actually never told anybody that I was actually upset with that until the other day. Um, a
Wow.
lot of feelings been coming up for me lately, triggering me that I just been sharing a lot more on a
Yeah.
personal, like deeper level within me of things that I don't just share my story or certain things help make me feel like I go deep into like of how
Yeah.
it really made me feel things that I felt ashamed to like say out loud. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, they just thought I guess when they told me their job is done, that's it. She knows. Okay, good. My hands are clean.
Yeah.
But I think when you tell your child, like, that's where it starts. That's not where it ends, it's where it
Exactly.
starts. And,
Yeah.
were you given like a safe place to like talk about it, to ask questions?
Not really. I remember probably right before my 18th birthday, my adoptive mum came up and she told me that I could essentially close off my birth record so that my birth family couldn't find me if I wanted to.
Okay.
But in that conversation, I could feel how uncomfortable she was. And again, with the people pleasing thing, it's like, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. And, these dynamics kind of played out when I started to search for my birth family as well. Like this feeling of, I don't want to hurt you. So I'm going to push down my own emotions to make you feel comfortable. Um, Again, yeah, I would say really, really common with adoption. Adoptive parents are the ones that have the power in this situation. So there are power dynamics that play a role in how we respond to all of this.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Let me
yeah.
just go back and just make sure I didn't. I want to see what people said. Say hi to the new people. Let's see. Katia said I will be driving and listening. Excited to hear your story. Yes, we talked about people pleasing and good that you don't let anyone walk all over you, Jim. Bethany said I find it hard to be a people pleaser. I agree, Jim. I had too much pent up anger too. Yeah. Welcome, Hannah. Welcome, Ray Lexus. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. Um, So I wanted to ask you, have you wanted to search for your birth family? Do you have information on them? And if you did, what was the outcome of it?
Yeah. I guess talking about that kind of healing journey, going from that state of I don't know who I am, complete disconnection, complete displacement, the first place that I looked for a piece of myself, I suppose, was looking for my biological family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was really lucky. I know it's not the case for a lot of people. I ended up finding them really, really quickly. Um, and I got to spend some time with my birth mother actually. It had just so I lived in Australia for a few years, and just as my partner and I were moving back to the UK, um, I found out that she was meant to go on a trip to Italy. So we ended up stopping over in Italy and spent a few days
Wow.
together there, which was really special. And I would say probably a few months after that, so this was maybe about 4 years ago now, I went back to Toronto and we spent a few days together. Just in the places, it's really interesting. I grew up about half an hour away from her.
Really?
We knew a lot of the same people. Again, she was 15 when she got pregnant, so she was really young, really close to my age. Um, and we had a really special time. We stayed in a hotel room together, and there was this one point where I woke up in the morning and she had been lying beside me. I opened my eyes and she was just looking at me and she said, "The way that you sleep is how you slept when you were a baby." And it just really, it meant so much to me to know because I always thought that she forgot about me. It was a really, really special time. Um, and I would say it was just the beginning because as much as I felt a connection with her and with my wider family as well, it was so cool to get to know them and get to know my family history. At the same time, there was kind of this awareness of this is a family that have a whole history without me, and I don't know about any of it, and I wasn't there. And at the same time, I've got a whole history and lots of love and lots of really good memories with my adopted family.
Right.
And also, I'm not really even allowed by law to call them my family, my biological family. So, it's a bit of a strange one. It's
Why is that, if you don't mind me asking?
well, I guess in terms of the law, I guess what comes to mind for me is so, as I say, I was born in Canada. I'm in the UK at the moment. All of my adoptive cousins got British passports because our parents were born here. I wasn't allowed to have a British passport because they're my adopted family. But I also wasn't allowed to consider my biological family. So one of my biological mother's dad was also English, but I wasn't allowed to call him my family. So it's kind of this caught in the middle. You think kind of looking for your biological family, you'll feel a huge sense of connection, but actually I kind of felt like there were reasons why I didn't feel fully integrated into both my biological and my adoptive family. So there was still maybe that sense of isolation and disconnection.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about has your adoptive parents spoke with your adoptive mother? Like, have they like virtually met? Have they physically met? How's that?
Not yet. Not yet. I've been really lucky that my adoptive parents were really supportive. Um, and I guess philosophically, there was this one point where I was saying to my adopted mother that I've got two families, and she said to me, "No, you've got one big family." But the reality is, all of my biological family live in Canada still. And we live here, and there's not really that much crossover. There might be in the future, but yeah, I would say they are still kind of disconnected from one another. Um, yeah, so it's definitely been an interesting journey. There's so many different sides to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Adoption, if I were to explain it in a word, I would say it's complex.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
you know, there's good and there's bad and there's ugly and
There's that.
it's all meshed up into one.
I know. I know. So,
Yeah.
do you know anything about your birth father?
Yeah, he was pretty much out of the picture. Um, he did know about my birth mother's pregnancy and he didn't want her to go ahead with it. So when I found that information out, that kind of shut for me, I guess internally, it kind of shut the door for me.
Mm-hmm.
Strangely, she gave me his name, and I've looked him up on Facebook, and I mean, I'm the spitting image of him. I look just like him. I mean, I think that if I were to reach out, there's no way he could contest
Right.
that I'm his biological daughter. But again, they were really young. He's got three young kids, so I'm kind of at this point in my life. As I say, searching for my biological family was just the first step.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it has been an internal journey of understanding what happened to me and why did I feel the way that I felt, coming to terms with it and being able to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me, I would say, has been even more empowering than even finding my biological family because
Right.
I'm not defined by either of my families. I'm, for the first time, defining myself, which is really, really interesting. I think with adoption, this is the sort of the common denominator. We are told how to define ourselves, which often we don't necessarily feel or agree with the definitions that others have given us. So it's that kind of journey to figuring out who am I, how do I feel, and owning that story.
Exactly. No, I love that. I definitely love that. Feel free if anybody has any questions for Alexandra, please feel free to drop a comment below, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer for you. If you have any questions for me, let me know. Um, so what about, I mean, while we're waiting, so what have you been doing for your healing journey? Actually, what age were you, or what point of your life were you coming out of the adoptee fog?
So I would say that was probably in my early 20s. So I did, originally when I moved to the UK, it was to do a master's degree in mental health and psychological therapy. And one of the things that I started learning about was about the idea of attachment. Have you heard of that before?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this idea that, our early experiences can play a massive role in the way that we feel about ourselves, the way
Mm-hmm.
that we feel about the world, and essentially whether we feel that we're okay, the world is okay, and we can trust other people. So our sense of self is so relational, it's so bound up in other people. And learning about that, I really recognize a lot of myself in the idea of anxious attachment, the fear of other people leaving, fear of abandonment. It's so classic
Oh,
for
we all feel
adoptees.
that.
Yeah,
And we
absolutely.
still do. I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
matter how old you are. I mean, I think we always just, that's what we were born into. We were born into abandonment, and then we just feel like that's our life. Everyone leaves, and we feel just abandoned, and yeah, it's a
yeah,
bad feeling.
it is. And I want to say as well, it's completely natural to feel. I do think that sometimes, some of these feelings can become kind of medicalized, and people go through adoption and then they feel like they've got a disorder or there's something wrong with them. And actually, given what you've been through, and given that again, we are such relational creatures, you know, we at our core, you know, we deal with safety by, it's almost safety in numbers. You know, we need that connection. We're tribal.
Mm-hmm.
So to experience something like that, no matter what age you're at, it is naturally going to impact you, and on the level of your nervous system and the level of your body,
Mm-hmm.
and often it's so unconscious. It will come up, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I think a big part of my healing journey has been figuring out how to have compassion for myself,
Yeah.
figuring out how to
Really,
be kind to myself. Yeah,
yeah, good.
yeah. So I would say that was kind of the beginning, you know, recognizing attachment style, recognizing that my early experiences have played a massive role in how I'm feeling now and the way that I relate to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that was in my early 20s, and from there it was just slowly coming to terms with, actually, this is really, you know, a lot of people in the adoptee community talk about the impact of relinquishment, which of course is a trauma. But for me, it's also about just the day-to-day dynamics of what it means to be an adoptee.
Mm-hmm.
Not only, you know, in terms of the attachment style and those kind of difficulties, but also to have an identity that is often unconsidered by society. You know, our perspectives are not considered. Adoptive parents' narratives are considered to be the norm,
Mm-hmm.
but also actively silenced. You know, when we speak, we are silenced. So the difficulties of those kind of dynamics, um, you know, naturally it will be difficult.
Yeah, and I think that's where we need to end the stigma of like when people say like, "Oh, you should be so lucky," or "You shouldn't have anything to complain about,"
Mm,
or "Wow, how how blessed are you?" Or like, I mean, yes, it's all true, but that's not all the whole. That's not the whole story. And it's
exactly.
almost like we feel ashamed when we do respond to them and say, "Well, actually, this is how I really feel," and it's almost like you feel ashamed by saying it because it's like you know like you don't have a right to complain. And
Yeah,
that's why I think a lot of us like shut down with our feelings and how we feel because we don't want to I guess be judged of being
yeah.
ungrateful. And that's why I cannot stand. That's why that stigma needs to end.
Mm. I think, unfortunately, when people don't understand an issue, they want to simplify it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's either you're grateful or you're not.
Right.
Either you respect your adopted family or you don't. Um, and the truth is often somewhere in the middle of that, you know. Um, I guess it's kind of both. You know, one thing that I've learned, it's kind of holding both at the same time. It's, yes, you love your adoptive family. Maybe, you know, that's not everybody's experience. I can only speak for myself.
Right.
But for me, I love my adoptive family. I feel a huge connection to them. And I really needed to know about my roots, and I needed to search, and it's holding both of those things at the same time.
And it's our right as an adoptee to go searching and figure out our identity, answer or get those unanswered questions answered. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Jim said, try hearing that for 59 years. But the good thing, it's an open door to share my story. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet that's pretty powerful after that much time.
Yeah. That's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share, like, with us? I know
Yeah.
you, I actually do want to mention that you are a co-founder with Kumonekta Kapwa. And I'm going to let
Yes.
you take the reins on that one and just, share what the community page. I know it's a connection community. That's what it means.
Yes. Yeah. Connecting community.
Connection community.
Yeah, that was kind of a recent endeavor, just connecting with the adoptee community online. And that was amazing, finding, you know, two other Filipino transracial adoptees.
Yes, one is
Um,
which is on right now.
yeah, yeah. That was really healing for me, again, to be able to find other people that get it. Because as much as, I can talk about it, and I'm very lucky that my partner listens to me and my parents listen to me. But at the same time, only really other adoptees actually get what that's like. Um, so yeah, that's been really healing. We just had our first meeting yesterday.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, I put out a video, but I'll just sort of repeat it here. I mean, it's talking about some of the issues that can come up with a sense of disconnection, a sense of displacement from your ethnic roots. And I guess hearing all of these different stories about people's experiences, it kind of normalized it for me.
Yeah.
Um, and it helps with the shame, that you start to recognize as you hear other people's stories and you know that you're not alone, you stop blaming yourself. Again, coming back to that sense of compassion,
Right.
you start to have compassion for yourself,
Yes.
which is, I think that's half the journey.
That's the start of the journey.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
I mean,
that's a
once
good way
you
to
start
put it.
giving yourself compassion, you can be a little more open-minded with things, and maybe react to a situation differently, or
Yeah,
not be so hard on ourselves about it.
that's it.
Hi,
Exactly.
Ingrid. Yeah,
Hi, good.
yeah, exactly. So it's it's Bethany from Journey My Tree Soul, and it's Kieran from
Yeah,
Decolonize Kiki. Um,
yeah. So, yeah, we're going to be holding monthly meetings. Some of the things that we'll be talking about, I guess, really the culture of the Philippines, understanding the Philippines were colonized for 500 years. So recognizing that there is a lot of lost knowledge and understanding,
mhm.
um, reconnecting with those roots, also just connecting to other people that maybe are feeling displaced and disconnected. We'll be talking about things like intergenerational trauma. So this is something that I'm studying now through my work, understanding the effects of being a part of a community that historically has been colonized. So
Right.
yeah, we're going to be meeting once a month. I'll put the link to the community when I finish here.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I just love this spreading more awareness, and then to focusing on every aspect of it as well. So that's
yeah,
awesome.
thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. It's been really cool.
good, good. I wish you, of course, the best of luck with all of that.
Thank you.
So, is there anything you want before I ask my last couple questions? Is there anything you want to share that we didn't get to, or you wanted to talk about?
I think that's pretty much it. Yeah,
Okay. And
yeah,
I didn't see
thank
any
you.
questions from anyone, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask mine then. Um, Welcome, your inside coach. Hello.
Hi,
So,
Lauren.
um, ask at the end, what advice would you give to adoptees, and what advice would you give to adoptive parents?
That's a good question. I kind of touched on it earlier. I think for adoptees, you know, just know that what you're experiencing is completely normal, it's completely natural. And whether that's, that's poor mental health, or whether that's, for example, substance abuse or misuse, or, there are a number of ways that you might notice that you feel disconnected from who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just know that it's normal. Most of us go through something like this, and really, offer yourself compassion. I have a really kind of nice, easy, quick practice that we could do together if that would be something you're interested in,
Sure. Yeah.
around self-compassion. Do you want to try something like that?
Sure.
Okay.
Is it for
So
just me, or is it for everyone?
for everybody, yeah, for
Okay.
everybody.
Everyone
So
join in.
this is a really quick, easy way that you can access the idea of self-compassion.
Okay.
Um, so wherever you are, you could keep your eyes open, or you could close them down if you feel comfortable. And you could bring your hands together in front of you, and maybe just start to move them up and down against one another. So
Alex, would
starting
you
to,
do me a favor before we really get into it? Could you adjust your camera so people can see exactly what you're doing?
I don't know, can you see me here?
Perfect.
Perfect, okay.
That people can watch what you're doing as well.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Okay.
So maybe just starting to rub your hands together, so creating a little bit of heat here.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do that, maybe bring to mind for example, a time where you felt compassion towards somebody else. So that might be a time where somebody else was suffering, you felt kindness, you felt that sense of compassion towards them. And if you're able, as you bring that memory to your mind, maybe locate that feeling of compassion in your body. So if you can, locating the feeling of compassion in your body. And if it feels useful for you, you could start to send that feeling of compassion into your hands. So the feeling of warmth in your hands is the feeling of compassion. And then whenever you're ready, you could place your hands on your own heart and offer that back to yourself. So offering yourself that warmth, kindness, compassion. And if you're not already there, you can open your eyes, come back into the space. So that's just a really nice way that you can just quickly offer that back to yourself. You know, that again, it's the beginning of the journey to stop blaming yourself, and to really offer that back to yourself.
Alex, that was beautiful.
I really love
Thank
that
you for
practice.
sharing that with us. Is there like a specific like name for this exercise, or is this something you just you learned?
Yeah, it's just a self-compassion exercise. Yeah, I learned it through therapy. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. I hope everyone joined in and will continue to do that, even if it helps a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess the other, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, Jim, congratulations on the 21 years of sobriety. That's awesome. That's amazing.
That's
Keep up the
amazing.
great work.
Well done, Jen.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Please continue, Alex.
I guess the other thing, the second part of your question was advice for adoptive parents. And again, kind of touched on it earlier, but it really is just recognize that adoptive parents have the power in this situation. And, you know, it sounds kind of blunt, but essentially adoptive parents bought the rights to decide how this narrative goes, how we see ourselves. It's that big, you know, it's that important. So as many people in positions of privilege need to do, it's kind of, you need to recognize that you have that privilege, you have that power, and what are you going to do with it? And oftentimes when you find yourself in a position of power, the best thing to do is to listen to the people that are often silenced and unconsidered. And for adoptive parents, it may be the case that they actively need to create those spaces, because adoptees won't just come forward because we're so focused on people pleasing.
Exactly.
So they really need to actively create those spaces, tell us it's okay to experience these feelings, get us support. Yes. This is what you sign up for when you become an adoptive parent.
Exactly. Perfect advice. Very well said.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So if everybody else doesn't have any questions, I guess we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for taking your time out today and joining
Thank you.
to Alexandra's beautiful story. Alexandra, thank you so much for coming on today. I love hearing all adoption stories, and I'm touched when people want to come on with me and share them. And thank you for the self-compassion exercise. I will be doing that.
Good.
I will definitely be doing that. Yes, thank you. And yeah, thank you so much. And for everyone who wants to follow Alexandra, her account is embodied_empowerment_project. And her she co-found the Kumanekta Kapwa, and it's just Kumanekta Kapwa, right? There's no. Is there
that's Kumanekta_Kapwa. I will add it to the comments.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you so much for hosting. This is a really special project you got, and it's really important work. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, well, everyone have a wonderful Sunday. You do as well, Alexandra. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye,
Take care,
everyone.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.